somebody wanted to know what having Noam Chomsky as a teacher was like.
I was just on email with him today.
Oh, yeah.
He is a man that I love. What was he like? He ranged from being absolutely awe-inspiring to being so frustrating. If he had decided on something and you went into his office and you said, look at these data, he'd say, look a little further, I really think it's this. And it could just drive you completely out of your mind. Yeah. On the other hand, he is my intellectual hero, definitely. I think that linguistics is a really, really interesting field, a beautiful, interesting field. But quite a bit of the work, probably in any field, is not really that interesting. Noam Chomsky's work, almost without exception, is intellectually beautiful. And that's great. And his ideas revolutionized the way we looked at language, and he proposed things long before we had a variety of ways to test them. The only way we had to test things was to look for how do people speak and build arguments. Now we can actually look at things in the brain and see what lights up when. And we now know that a lot of his original claims are biologically true. He's brilliant, you know.
So how do you figure that out before you can look at a brain? Is it just inside
He
it?
figured it out just by looking at language. He decided that there was no other result consistent with the data that he was looking at. There has to be a mechanism in the brain. It is not a continuous single mechanism. It's not like a pea. It's not like your stomach or your liver or your heart. It is spread in various parts of the left hemisphere there. And if you are a signer, your left hemisphere is involved, all the same parts, but also parts of your right hemisphere because of vision. But it's spread out there, and it is there. And if you do damage to it, it has certain effects on your speech. So what we know about aphasia, also if you have certain kinds of genetic defects, it's just, yeah, it's there. But and I was convinced by his arguments before this other information came up, but lots of people weren't. I mean, for years there was controversy over, is language just something that we learn by mimicry, or are we hardwired, which was Chomsky's position. I think anybody who said that we're not hardwired, who would say that today, has to be somebody who's completely out of touch with what's happened over the last 20 years.